And today we thought it was the right time to bring you some of the stories. And we are really privileged to hear from someone who is literally living firsthand in Moshav Avivim, literally just meters from the Lebanese border over the past almost 3 years now, but even much, much before that, of course, in the north. And you can see Avivim now on the border. It almost the letters are touching the border line. That's how close it is. And so almost over the past 3 years, she and her community have experienced so much. So uncertainty, displacements when they had to leave their home, of obviously fear, and then we go into resilience and the challenges of coming back and trying to rebuild life when the situation around them is impossible and changes every 3 minutes. So Dvora, if you can come online, I'm very proud to introduce you and happy to have you with us. Welcome to our Israel update. And if I may, your story is a story of tens of thousands of Israelis living along the northern borders, from big places we heard about, Kiryat Shmona and Nahariya, and to smaller places that some of us never heard of before. I personally heard of Avivim, a beautiful place, but I'm sure some of the people on this call haven't heard about it. So Dvora, thank you so much for joining us in this early hours, all the way from northern border, and for sharing your story with the whole Australian community. And Brucha haba, welcome. We will hear a bit from Dvora, and then obviously we're going to open this for questions. I'm sure there's going to be tons of them. Please put them in the Q&A, and we'll try to cover as much as possible. So Dvora, Brucha haba, welcome. We hope you had a quiet night as much as possible, and we hope you're going to have a quiet morning. How are you?
Well, first of all, thank you. Very tired because the night was not as quiet as we had hoped it would be.
Of course, yeah. Could you tell us a bit about yourself? Maybe tell us how and that accent. How did that accent end up in Avivim?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody and to thank you for joining me and for listening to my story. Everybody has a story, and this is mine. I made Aliyah from Boston, Massachusetts, Brookline, if that says anything, in 1973, on the eve of the Day of Independence, Independence Day. And before that, after a regular school, I had gone to Hebrew Teachers High School, HTC, in Brookline, and attended Camp Yavne, and was very connected with my Jewish side. And so I decided to come to Israel to see what Israel was really like. I fell in love and decided that I wanted to make my home here and raise my family here. Excuse me. And then I went into the Army because I figured if I'm going to live here, I better integrate as quickly as possible and give what I can when I can. And so I became a teacher soldier. And the first year I taught at Miran, which is not too far away from Avivim. And then I volunteered to come to Avivim for the second year of my service because in 1970, the PLO sent rockets over to a school bus carrying Avivim school children. And 9 school children were killed and 3 civilians, and everybody else was horribly injured. And so this community really went through a lot. And ostensibly, I was supposed to teach English, but I think I did a lot more. And I also stayed after my service. So, and I have 4 beautiful sons and 11 grandchildren. One of my sons lives here in Avivim. So he's with me with everything that we're going through. Throughout all the years, I've seen it all of the wars and the infiltration attempts and everything. And it's been a rough ride. And I would have thought that by the time my grandchildren, not my sons, but my grandchildren came around, that we wouldn't be in this situation, but we still are. My late husband was in charge of the security in Avivim for 30 years. And so we were targeted by our neighbors across the border. Um, and that's why probably they blew up my house. One was a direct blow, face to face, with people coming in from the opposite village of Meirun Aras. And then there was another hit a couple of months later. So my home and everything I have, everything was completely destroyed.
Can we
And
maybe see? We have actually a video of that. I'm sorry, I'm stopping you while you're speaking. Maybe we can take a few seconds. Thank you, Carly. So this is your house, the as seen from Lebanon, correct?
right.
ما رميت إذ رميت لكن الله رمى.
So this was done intentionally, marking my house.
This was when at the very beginning.
This was in November in 2023.
All right, we have some images also. Maybe we can share from the house itself, or what was left of it after it was hit. And as we wait for the image, Dvora, you wanted to say it, you forgot that sometimes there's two things. Sometimes the internet disappears because the army plays with the reception. So if that happens, we apologize. And the second thing is you said a few minutes ago, if there's a siren, unfortunately, Dvora, you will have to go to the shelter, and we'll wait for you for a few minutes. Hopefully, it's a short one, but I just wanted to prepare our.
But hopefully Hezbollah will be not as active on our update. This is what
Hopefully they consider it.
yeah.
So I'm sorry we bother you. Could you tell us what we're seeing?
Yes, so that's my home after both rockets hit. They also my business, which is bed and breakfast business, everything was hit. This is the room where a week before on Sukkot, my eldest son and family and baby slept. So yeah, everything is gone, everything. And so I actually came back to Avivim only about maybe a month and a half ago, but still, we're still fixing up the house. And so I was evacuated for a couple of years, refugeeing, I call it. I didn't have a home. And a lot of other people were also in my situation. They were evacuated with all the challenges. And it's very hard not to have a home and not to know what the end of all of this is going to be and when it's going to be. And we did come back to Avivim because we thought that it would be safe, but it's still going on. And not only in Avivim, but in most of the country. And now it probably will start up again. So, so what does my life look like now? Well, up north, for when you have the dangerous times, as the Army says, it's dangerous. So the kids stay at home, and one of the parents has to stay with the kids. And I know that they're trying maybe some Zoom learning, but that's, you really can't concentrate when you're in a situation like this. But it's still they're trying because, as a people, we're very resilient and we've been through a lot worse in our history. And we've created a sort of I don't know, not a safety net, but some type of layer that helps us bond together and get through all of this. But it's very challenging. And especially when you live in Avivim, you have to live by intuition. For example, if you have to get medical treatment, so you have to leave the moshav. And so what I try to do is I look and see where the last hits were, when they were, and try and figure out how much longer it will be till the next hit and where it will be. I also use an application called canishower.com, which has a logarithm that actually figures out when is the most dangerous time to take a shower. So, yeah, that's how we live. And when you cook something, you want to make it fast and you want to eat quickly because you don't know what's coming down.
Mhm.
It's very noisy and scary. And if it's scary for me as a person, I can only imagine what it's doing to the children and to the youth in Avivim and anybody who's in this situation. I never thought that I would find myself in a war. I feel like I'm in some John Wayne movie of World War II with all the noise and the helicopters shooting and the rockets going both ways. And so it's not a very pleasant time. And like I said, you really can't concentrate or focus on anything. You just try and get through the day. You're also not sleeping at night, so you're exhausted. And there's also that underlay of, it's not fear, but it's apprehension. You don't know what's going to happen. People like to know what's going to happen. So if you don't know, then you're sort of like standing on shifting sands. Um, Avivim is a religious community, and we have our faith. And I have total faith in God, and that's what gets us through, really. Another thing that's getting us through is we have, well, on days that we're allowed to gather for the children and the seniors and for the youth, we have activities that are provided, and that's very important to keep a sense of community and not just stay all alone in your house by yourself. So we meet at the community center. It's called Beit Am, and it's so important. And I do know that we are starting a clubhouse for the youth. You know, the teenagers, they have it tough anyways, but if you add on this situation and the fact that they were evacuated from their homes and separated from their community and their friends, and this was for a year or 2 years sometimes. And some of them don't have a home to return to yet because my contractor worked really quickly, but not everybody is having the same luck. So we have this clubhouse. I'd like to explain that it's a place where the kids can go and they can sort of breathe. They're so important. They can talk to each other and, discuss among themselves without outsiders, how they feel and maybe even have a couple of moments of reprise from this horrible situation, uh, where they're together and doing things. I know that they have meals together that they prepare. I heard, I don't have any teenagers, but I heard that, it's very successful and also thinking about in the future community projects that they can get involved with. But of course, we'll have to make sure that everybody is safe first. But I think that that's a wonderful thing that we have this sense of community that's really keeping us going. And I just wanted to also mention that Avivim is a small portion of Miroma Galil. Our region is really very picturesque and the landscapes are beautiful. I invite anybody who wants to come. Please, you're all welcome. I have a lot of coffee. And we have forests and archaeology and roots. Not too far from here was the War of Kadesh. There's really a lot to see. But again, for that, we'll need peace.
Dvora,
Anyways,
if we could ask you, on that, there's already a couple of questions about how you ended up in Avivim. You started speaking about coming to Israel in 1974, if I'm not wrong, and
oh,
uh, and got married there. And if you could also maybe tell us a bit about Avivim before, Not current situation, but what kind of a community is it? You say it was a bit religious, but tell us a bit about the people, about the community, about life there before the current crisis.
So Avivim had a few communities coming before the current community came from Morocco in 1963. The majority of people, except for people who married into Avivim, are from Morocco. Most of them are from the Atlas Mountains. Some came from the cities, and they're religious and very traditional. And it was my pleasure to be able to participate in many of their old traditions. And it really is a unique community because we've kept most of those traditions. And so I came here as part of my Army service. I volunteered to come to Avivim for the second year of my service to work with the community and the children who had been through the 1970 terror attack on the school bus, the Avivim school bus. And then I stayed. So that's my story in Avivim. What was it like before? So, like in any community, when people come from a place like the Atlas Mountains into a modern country where you have modern appliances and everything is modern. So of course it takes time to get used to this. There's always the problem when the children integrate faster than the parents, especially with the language, and the parents who were once the pillars of their community and the head of their family, so they have to rely on their children to help them through the bureaucracy, the language. But in the end, it all evens out, and respect and values are still very much part of our community, I'm happy to say.
Dvora, I know that Avivim is around 500 people, right? More.
Yes.
And can you take us back to the 7th of October? I know that you had to move away from Avivim. And can you tell us a little bit more about that, about being displaced, about, I think, if I remember correctly, you were moved to Tiberias, to Tveria, most of the Yeshuv. Can you tell us how that was? Can you give us a snapshot of how that looked like, what it felt like?
So when they moved people who were in danger, they tried to keep the communities whole so that we still had a sense of community, because being displaced all of a sudden with very few of your belongings and not all of your family. And also remember that people have family in the Army and friends in the Army, and it's very confusing. You don't have a place really to make your home. You don't have a place to really cook, or it's really difficult. It was very, very hard. But like I said, we're resilient. And once we got our sea legs, so we were able to make a life for ourselves until we came home. But it was not easy at all. And one of the great things was that our Moitza, our regional council, and with the help of donations, and for which we're very thankful, they had all of these activities for the different populations, and that was so important. And we also had a type of school in the basement there at the hotel. Not everybody went to the hotel, but most people did. I went to the hotel, and then I decided to go to Gadera near one of my sons, to take this opportunity to be with family that I don't always get to see. But then I had to move back to the hotel in Tiberias because I wanted to be closer to Avivim, because we were starting to salvage what we could from the house. I was able to get back home, and I had to start assessing the damages and go through all the tax people, which is not a pleasant thing to do. And so I had that to deal with. Then at the end, when they canceled all of the hotels because most of the people were home, so then I rented a little room in Yesoda Ma'ala, which is also not too far away from Avivim. It's about a half an hour. And I would come up every day and make sure that everything was okay with the house and the contractor. And so that's what I've been doing. I've had to put my life on hold. I wasn't able to do anything else with my life during this time.
Can I ask you again? I'm sorry, I'm going back to life before October 7th. And we all saw in the video how close they are from you, or they were from you. And this is not them shooting from the fence itself, but probably a few hundred meters before. But the view is open. They could see literally when you were having your morning coffee on your balcony. Can you take us back to that? And we all remember the videos also from before the war when they were on the fence and we could literally see the Hezbollah terrorist checking the fence. So how was life so close to them? With, of course, as beautiful as picturesque as the North is, there was probably always that thought that they're looking at you, especially maybe you, the whole
Yeah,
community, but then again, especially you and your family because of your husband's work.
exactly. Um, we always were aware of their presence, and they would pray also very loudly, and you could hear like a whole bunch of people yelling and shouting and ranting and chanting, and we knew what they were saying. You can imagine. Um, we basically lived as normally as possible. Um, it was not part of my daily life. I know that the army was here and I felt protected. And I knew what I was signing up for when I came to live in Avivim. And this war, as they say, is not my first rodeo because, we've had it ongoing all the time. But before October 7th, like I said, there have always been infiltration attempts. There's, there's always something, some war, something going on. So even though we try on a daily basis, we really don't think, I didn't think about it. I would come home from work and I would do what I need to do and I would just live normally until there was an infiltration attempt or, a war. But, that's how I would live and everybody else too.
Dvora, we
You have grandchildren. You have grandchildren in Avivim, and they also went to the hotel in Tveria.
Yes, I have two
Uh,
grandchildren and they're here now in Avivim and I try to when they're not in school, which they're not now, I try and take their minds off of the situation. I bring them here because they live right next door. So we do a lot of activities and music and all sorts of things just to try and, make it a little easier for them. But
how was it for them to be displaced for such a long time in a hotel? They're used to living in a yeshuv, which is beautiful, green, a lot of outer space. Now being in a city, in a hotel,
it
very
was
cramped.
terrible. They hated it. And a lot of families lived in one room. So you had five people living in one room with sofas that opened up that weren't comfortable. We weren't complaining because, we had a place to live. Thank you. But it was not easy. It was no life at all, really. Even though, like I said, um, anybody involved tried to make the stay as pleasant as possible, but they were uprooted from their homes. They didn't have their things. They didn't have their friends. They didn't have their routine, which everybody needs. So that was, really difficult. And I also want to mention that before they uh, told um, before they told us that we couldn't send the kids to school anymore. So the day before, my granddaughter, who's in the second grade, was on one of the buses and there was a siren. And she came home and she comes to me for lunch. So she came home and I said, you're late now because of the siren. What was that like? What did you do?" And she went like this. That's what they did in the bus. And it just broke my heart. It broke my heart that, the kids have to go through this.
Um, Dvora, personally, and you have more than 30 years experience, unfortunately, in such a situation in Avivim. What you will do if it will continue like this for, couple of years to come? Like personally, what will be your decision if, to stay, to leave, what your community will decide to do? Because, there's a point of that, for how long you can suffer such a, way of living.
Well, first of all, there's no safe place in Israel. And this is my home. And I'm staying here. Even, my husband has passed, my kids have grown up and left, and I'm staying here by myself. And this is my home. I'm not going anywhere.
How many people have returned to Avivim?
I would say about 80 to 90%. Of course, there are people
Wow.
that still have to deal with their homes and everything, but
And there's a great winery in Avivim now, the Yaakov Avivim.
it was blown
There
up.
was?
It was
Okay.
blown up.
Crazy. It was
And
that many
also,
years ago.
a lot of businesses here, the bed and breakfast, my bed and breakfast, they were like kaboomed. We're still dealing with the tax people about that, but we don't have any tourist business now because of that. So a lot of people also, you know, find it hard to
Financially.
get back on their feet.
And there's
Uh,
a question on that from one of our listeners from Evelyn. She's saying, has the government helped Avivim at all? How much support have you got from the government over the last 2.5 years?
Well, ostensibly, the government is supposed to, um, they're supposed to have have all the damages corrected, and they're supposed to have everything revert to its previous condition. But this is not exactly so, and sometimes it's like pulling teeth, and I was not reimbursed for everything. I'm going to say it plainly. I was not reimbursed for everything. I lost a lot. And there's also like a loophole, for example, if you have any art. So there's a clause in insurance companies where it says that if there's war damage, then it's not covered. But on the other hand, you can't insure with war damage insurance. You can't insure through the government. So if you have an expensive painting, like in Tel Aviv, for example, you have an apartment full of art or whatever, and it gets blown up. Too bad. There's no, nobody will reimburse you, nobody. So it's sort of like tough luck. And I don't think that's right, but there's nothing that can be done.
I want to go
But
back to Dvora, if it's okay, to a deeper conversation about people who are coming back. You're saying 90% of the people came back, which is an incredible number, if you ask me.
80 to 90%,
80 to
yeah.
90, very high numbers. I'm sure you agree with me. And I wanted to ask you, in a nice way, there's a lot of courage in people coming back, but it seems, again, in a nice and a good way, there's a lot of stubbornness as well. People are coming back dafka, you know? Do you find that's the case? Because let's face it, I'm gonna try to read the map. You know, everyone left on October 8th. Young people went to live with family in Petah Tikva, Tel Aviv, Ra'anana, Jerusalem, doesn't matter where, Haifa, for a long time. And they put their kids in kindergartens, they put their kids in schools, they found jobs, they built a life. And I'm gonna be again very gentle here. Life in Tel Aviv, I'm sure a lot of people's eyes opened of the possibilities they have here and there, professionally, personally, restaurants, culture, beach. Again, I'm talking only about Tel Aviv. Jerusalem might be better for someone else. Ra'anana, Ashdod, doesn't matter where they spent their time. And for them to come back, 80 to 90% of them is a huge deal, if you ask me. I wanted to ask you, is that also specific to Avivim, or is this the case all around you in different kibbutzim and moshavim around you? And also, how do you explain that?
Well, first of all, we are a strong community. We've always been a strong community, and a lot of people are related. So I think it was a given that we would come back. I mean, we've been through so much already. Of course, we would come back. This is our home. You mentioned stubbornness. You know, there's a saying in the Bible, I'll say it in Hebrew, Am kshe orech, a stubborn people. The Jews are a stubborn people, and that's actually why God gave us Israel and the law, because, you know, we're stubborn. So, of course, we're coming back to Avivim. I was in Kiryat Shmona a couple of days ago. I went into town. I took a risk and went in, and it was like a ghost town. Many of the stores were not open. A lot of the people have left. I think that even when Avivim was targeted a lot, people didn't leave. They stayed here. So I don't know how to explain the difference. Maybe it's because we're a tighter knit community than the city. But people in Kiryat Shmona have also been through a lot. And sometimes, you know, you say to yourself, well, I don't have to take this. I'll just leave and come back when it's all over, if at all. But in Avivim, for some reason, we've stayed.
Interesting.
Dvora, what keeps you so optimistic and so resilient? You're an amazing inspiration, and we talked to you last week, and I'm talking to you now, and you give so much strength in the crazy reality that you live in.
I can say it in 2 words. I believe. Because no matter where I am, I'm always in the hands of God. It doesn't matter where I am, and I feel that I have a job to do here. I'm not exactly on a mission, but I feel that if God put me in Avivim, this is where I'm going to be. You know, so that's my
Right, so
answer.
interested. Obviously, the soldiers are now much deeper in Lebanon. I mean, we've got soldiers in, all the way over the Litani now into Beaufort and other areas, but I'm assuming there are a lot of soldiers around where you are, and you're interacting with them on a fairly regular basis, if not all the time. And I'm really just interested in hearing some of your insights, talking to those, mostly, but not only young men and women, and some older who are doing their miluim and have been, some of them already fighting for 2.5 years. And really just, what's the feeling that you're getting from those people, from the soldiers, from your security squads, the people who've really been on the front line, literally, in terms of the fighting, other than yourselves as the residents. What's the vibe? What are people feeling? What are they saying?
Well, first of all, I would like to interject the fact that our community, every Friday, we make schnitzels and salads for all of the bases around in Lebanon, and they come and they pick it up. We make cakes, and we make sure that, the people are well fed, a little bit of home. Otherwise, we don't have a lot of contact with them, but we have children ourselves who are in the army, so we know exactly how they feel. They're doing their duty, they're protecting their citizens, their parents, their friends. We're all together in this. It doesn't matter what side of the fence we're on. If I'm in Avivim or if they're in Lebanon, we all do the part that we can. And I want to say that this generation is amazing. They're so strong. They have such high values. Really amazing people.
I've got another question, and it's loaded, but not a loaded question, and I'm not wanting to put you on the spot, but obviously we want, as a community of fellow Jews and Zionists around the world, and we're trying to help, and asking you as a resident of the town now, obviously, Karen Ayesod leadership talks to the leadership and the regional councils and the mayors and the heads of the communities, but as a regular citizen on the ground, and you spoke a little bit about the youth resilience centers, which we're supporting now as well, but what are the needs? What can we, from thousands of kilometers away in Australia, as the case might be now, what What can we do to support you, your friends, your family, the people on that northern border? What's really needed at the moment to keep the chizuk, as we would say, on in a religious sense?
First of all, thank you so much. I think it's important to be able to equip the clubhouse with the equipment that these people need to have a clubhouse, whatever that takes. And let's not forget that these kids, these teenagers, they're going in the army soon. So, whatever we can provide for them, if it's going into the new age of AI, if it's, I don't know, maybe exercise equipment, anything that also can build their community and take their minds off the situation. Again, I'm not on any committees. I don't know exactly what equipment, you would have in, but I would imagine furniture and I don't know, things for refreshment, and things that would occupy them. Maybe some gaming equipment. I know they're very big on gaming equipment, teenagers, electronic things. But I wish I could have more answers, but that's
No, of
probably
course. And I mean
something that
more
you
broadly,
know
right?
more about.
And I mean more broadly as well, as a community, as a group of people, as families that have grown up and raised your kids and now grandkids together. And what is it going to take? We're not the government. We don't have an unlimited, but we have ways of supporting and helping, and that's what our people do, right? And same way as you say, you're helping the soldiers every Friday because that's what you do, give them a feeling of home. Outside of that youth center, what else can we be doing from this side of the world to make you feel the hug and the love and the gratitude that we're feeling all the way across the world?
Thank you. I think the best thing to do, as funny as this sounds, would be to ask them. And also, I think it would be great to be in direct communication with them, not pen pals, because now we have videos, but I think it would be great if your community would be able to be in touch with them. A lot of them speak English and you speak Hebrew. And I think that would be the best thing to directly ask them, how can we help you?
This is something that we already are doing. Last week, our team was in Avivim and also came to film and to meet with the leaders of the community to understand the needs. And we're very happy that we are able to support the Yeshuvim and the Moshavim in the north of Israel.
Thank you. You have to understand that we must create a microclimate here. We must create our own cosmos, our own universe for the kids here because we're so far away. And also, especially now, we are a rural community, like I said. So we do have to have our own things going on. But in addition, now with everything that's going on with the war, so this is even more important to create a place for them, their own world. So important. And maybe some things that are out of their reach to be able to have them have access to this. Maybe if it's learning something and they would need equipment or something like that. Again, I have no specifics, but I'm sure that when you came, Gili, and you spoke with them, that they probably were able to better inform you of what their needs were.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure there will be. I've already got 2 messages from some of our leadership saying our next missions, our next mishlachot, they have to go to Avivim. So we're going to have to look at it as well to actually bring people there. Please God, please
And
God.
Shoshana Kushinsky wrote, have you ever considered becoming an ambassador for Israel as you are so inspirational? Needed to
Nobody's
share this
asked.
with you.
No, nobody's ever asked, but I would be very happy to answer any questions if anybody from any part of the world would want me to speak with them. I'm open. My schedule is open right now, like I said.
No, absolutely.
All
I think
right.
after this, we might be launching a new career, and other than the Airbnb, which will fill up with Australians as soon as things open, please God, then we'll get you talking to people. It's wonderful. So
Well, I hope so. Also, in addition, I'm trying to start a choir here. I'm musical. So I'm trying to start a choir and perhaps maybe a small musical ensemble.
Yeah.
So that's another
We
thing
have
I'm
a
trying.
very regular lady, Susie Langley, who listens every single week, and she will be very excited to hear that. Susie's also involved with choirs and believes in the healing of music and the power of music. So
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Before I came to Israel, I started studying at the New England Conservatory of Music and a little bit at Berkeley also. So I play the piano, the harp, the guitar, and the flute. And I was in touch with Stan Sperber, who led the Zamir choir in Boston. I sang in some of his choirs, and I would
Oh,
be really
nice.
happy to be able to bring some joy and music to the people in Avivim. So I'm working on that.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Hopefully, we can also find ways to help you with that and do whatever
Thank you.
happens. So, very,
Well,
very
that would
good.
be really great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Dvora, can I make a comment and ask you a question as we are nearing the end? And I wanted to ask you if there's something beautiful that came out of this very ugly and difficult period. I'm sure you are the only person I think I would ask that question.
Um, Something beautiful, yes, a stronger sense of community here. I feel that as a community, we're taking the next step where we are even more involved in each other's lives, whereas it used to be more family oriented, cousins, brothers. So now it's like Moshav wide, and everybody cares about the other person. We have a group that we've started, for example, for young mothers, new mothers, where somebody makes a cake and another person makes lunch and we bring it over to them. And so I think that we lost our community there for a while because we weren't able to be here. We were in exile. And then when we came back, we were able to build back better.
Beautiful.
Wow, amazing.
I think with that inspiration, we might bring it to an end and let you get onto your day and hopefully positive things. But Dvora, on behalf of all of us, we really want to thank you for joining us this morning. As you said, this was your first time, but you are an absolute pro. So really, absolutely grateful and a wonderful representative for your community. And please, God, if everybody has got the positive spirit that you've got and the can-do attitude, I think the north of Israel is in good hands, and very quickly, please God, we'll see a recovery and tourism and strong communities, growing communities, like we're seeing in the south, where some of the communities are actually bigger than they were before the 7th of October. Please God, we'll see that for the north as well, with people wanting to move there and grow the communities even stronger. And that's our best answer to what's happened
And
over the last 2.5
I want to
years.
thank you and to thank everybody who joined me today. And, we're all connected. It doesn't matter where we live.